Hi, I'm Chris Lewis, firefighter for the Lakeville Fire Department, and welcome to another edition of On Call. The goal of this program is to educate and inform the residents of Lakeville about how Lakeville's all-volunteer fire department trains and responds to emergencies. Let's take a look at what's coming up in this edition of On Call. We take a look at our current HazMat operations training that the entire department is going through. In the Chief's Corner, Chief Mike Meyer takes us on a tour of the new Able facility being built in Burnsville. Firefighter Gil from Station 3 will answer a question and ask the firefighter. I'll get you all caught up in the latest happenings around Lakeville Fire Department. And Scratch learns how we refill the tanks on the fire engines with water. Tonight we're here at training and we're joined by Brad from Hennepin Tech. Brad, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, thank you.
So I know you're here to instruct us on hazardous materials, but why don't you give us a brief history on your fire service?
I retired about a year and a half ago after doing 38 years in the fire department with both Richfield and Bloomington.
Okay.
Back in the mid-'80s, I was tasked to go to extensive hazardous materials training for the state of Minnesota when they were going to start their own hazardous materials response team for the state. And that's how I got very involved in it. Also now I've done curriculum development with it, taught it, and also been on HazMat teams over that time.
Oh, so you're very, very extensive in your career.
A little bit.
Okay, so what are we doing here tonight for our training?
Well, tonight is part of what's called HazMat operations level training. That's kind of the first level of active response for fire departments to hazardous materials incidents. And this training tonight they're doing as part of the personal protective equipment or chemical protective clothing component of that training. And that operations level training fits in with technician and specialist level to make a kind of complete hazardous materials response group of folks.
Okay, perfect. So we're getting it all up in different types of suits and seeing exactly what it takes to get them on and be in them and function in them.
Yes, these suits are different than the typical firefighter gear, which is designed to protect us from heat and fire, but not chemicals. These suits are designed to be chemically resistant, vapor tight, to allow HazMat team members to go and shut a valve, patch a leak, perhaps rescue someone that's down, keeping themselves safe from that chemical challenge.
Okay, perfect. So if we were to wear these suits, will we as the fire department be the primary team on a hazardous materials call or something like that?
In Dakota County, you folks have what's called a special operations team, the SOT team. These are I believe the SOT team is made up of individuals from the various fire departments in Dakota County and have specialized training and stuff that we as firefighters don't do on an everyday basis. Technical rescue, high-level rescue, hanging off of buildings with ropes to pick off window washers, trench rescue, and hazardous materials response. Those members would be the actual people going in to patch the leak, wearing these suits and such. However, the Lakeville Fire Department is training to the operations level, which is kind of a support level, and would help people get into the suits. They should also know what some of the physiological challenges are in a suit. They may also wear some of the lower level suits to help decontaminate and get the people that are in the high level suits that have gone in to patch the leak, fix the problem, come out, go through decontamination, and help them get out of their suits still, but even those folks would need some level of chemical protective clothing. So it all ties together.
Okay, Brad, so say we do have an incident and there is some contamination of places or people or what, how would we go about, what would be our steps to decontaminate, if you will?
The first part of that is always life safety, so you may wind up dealing with civilian victims that have been exposed or contaminated, need to be cleaned off, the contaminant removed from them before an ambulance or a hospital essentially accept them because they don't want to spread that contamination. We don't want it to leave the site. The other is another component of that our workers that have gone in to contain, patch, stop the leak, whatever that might be. Their equipment and their protective suits have been contaminated. They'll go through a series of wash and rinses, depending on what the chemical is, to decontaminate, get their suit clean enough basically to take it off. Okay. Most of the suits are disposable, one-time use. Again, the folks going through this operations level training will also be doing that decontamination of those. The other component is then the site decontamination, whatever that might be, whether it's a spill of fuel or gasoline into a ditch. Usually there are companies that specialize as cleanup contractors to do that type of decontamination of the site and property.
All right, Brad, so I know we're going through this all this extensive training. What would we have to worry about here in Lakeville that we might respond to?
Well, a couple things. One is as Lakeville bringing your members up to operations level to support the special operations team, which is a county-wide department. So part of it is just from a mutual aid standpoint that none of us can support or do everything ourselves, so we depend on our neighbors, and it's always a give and take. But no community is immune from a possible hazardous materials event. Most of the time they're very small, but sometimes they can be fairly large and catastrophic. You have freeways running through town. There's a lot of hazardous materials that go up and down the freeways. There are rail lines that go through town, carry hazardous materials, and their safety record is remarkably good on that. And these chemicals, all people say, well, they're hazardous, but they do a lot of good for us too. Chlorine, our water treatment plant has chlorine, and it of itself can be a nasty hazardous material, but it's a very critical one for water purification, so we don't get sick drinking our water. It's a great deal, and the chemical industry does a very good job making sure these containers are secure, but like anything, there's always a chance for an accident. Okay, and we want to be prepared.
Great. So is this training something that Lakeville's doing itself, or is this like a statewide thing that we all have to do, or?
There are standards from what's called the National Fire Protection Association, which essentially sets professional competency standards for fire department personnel. And one of the things is they're voluntary, but Lakeville has made the decision to participate with the Dakota County SLT Special Ops team and to support, be that support role in there. And so now they're going to be training to this specified level of training, and that's really so everybody gets the same consistent training. Every department knows, these people have been trained to this level, what their capabilities and skills are. Okay. Because in an emergency, it's not time to be asking too many questions like that.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us and explaining to me and our viewers what we're exactly doing here, and I'm looking forward to more training.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm a dog singing the doggy-doo blues. Dogs must be leashed when out of their own yards. If you're walking a dog, clean up if it leaves a gift. Take the poo and put it in a bag. Throw it out, dispose of the stuff in a sanitary way. Throw it out. If you do this, you'll keep our parks and nature clean. Be a responsible pet owner and clean up after your dog. I know I would.
Hi, my name is Gil Logan, a firefighter out of Station 3, and here's Todd from Christina Huddleston Elementary School with our question.
Hi, my name is Todd, and I'd like to know what you do with natural gas and electricity in a house fire.
Thanks for your question, Todd. When we have a working structure fire, we do have to worry about these utilities, and we want to make sure that they are shut down for our own safety. When it comes to electricity, if we can find the breaker panel in the house, we will shut the power down manually. But we can call one of our electric companies to come out to the scene, and they can assist getting the power turned off if we are having difficulty. But we will continue firefighting unless we believe there's a threat to our safety in the meantime. When it comes to natural gas, when we arrive at the home, we'll shut the gas meter manually outside, which cuts off the natural gas feed to the house. Regardless of if we believe utilities have been completely shut down or not, we call the respective companies to verify and allow them to turn the gas and electricity back on. Thanks, Todd, for your question. If you have a question for Ask the Firefighter, send it to us using the information on the screen.
I'm Fire Chief Mike Meyer. Welcome to another edition of Chief's Corner, and I'm joined with Fire Chief Mike Scott from Egan. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
And we're here to talk about Able today, on what's happening with the reconstruction of our burn facility that we've been used and shared with the 4 cities. So a little bit of history about it. Can you tell us when Able started as far as a group and the building?
Sure. And I guess I must be kind of old because I remember the first grand opening for the original Able, but as you know, that opened in 1987. It was the 4 cities, Apple Valley, Burnsville, Lakeville, and Egan. I really give the Chiefs credit. Back in the 80s, they had the foresight to know that something like the old Able was going to be needed and still needed today. But the original Able was about a 1,200 square foot burn building. And you could only burn in one room. So after being in it a couple times, you knew where the fire was going to be.
Yep.
And then it was a single standalone tower that was about 3.5 stories tall. Very small tower. It was just a stairwell. There wasn't really anywhere to put any hose advancements or anything like that. So it was pretty tight on space. But it was designed to be a 20-year building back in 1987. And as you know, last year was its 25th year. Would have been its 25th year.
Yep. And as far as when we talk about Able in a burn facility, this is considered a Class A. What's the difference between what we see out in other burn buildings, a Class A versus like the Jordan scale facility? Mm-hmm. So what's the difference in those?
Sure, there's really 2 different types of burn facilities. One is the Class A, like you mentioned, and one is the natural gas. And we chose to stay with the Class A, where you're actually burning wood pellets. We felt from the 4 Able cities that it gave a more realistic feel for firefighters, especially new firefighters that are going through our apprentice training, with the actual smoke, because smoke acts differently in a Class A live burn facility than it does in a gas facility. Gas does have a lot of good benefits. One is it's really easy to shut down in case you have an emergency, but it doesn't really give that realistic smoke feel, and it's much more expensive than the facility that we're building today. But we felt that the right way to go was the Class A facility. So Class A essentially is usually pallets and a little bit of straw to make some extra smoke.
Okay. And then you mentioned that our old building was 1,200 square feet. So compared to that one to what we see behind us today, what's the differences as far as what we see?
Sure. So today's building is about 5,200 square feet. And what we did is, instead of having 2 separate buildings, a tower and a burn facility, we actually looked at that as an option of building a tower at a separate location and a burn facility at this location, but we decided let's combine them, combine the square footage, combine the training scenarios into one large facility. So this one's 5,200 square feet, and it's a little over 3 stories, actually 4 stories if you count the roof area. Gives us a lot of different types of scenarios than the old building was. And the nice thing about this building, due to its design, you can burn in any room other than the stair tower.
Okay, and then I know we added some unique features like up on the 3rd floor. Can you kind of cover some of those at what we did up in that area?
Sure. What we really tried to do was replicate what we're going to see in any of our cities. Our 4 cities are very similar. You're going to have everything from a single family home to commercial buildings. So we really wanted to replicate what you'd see in typical fires that we go to in our cities. So part of the building looks like a commercial building, part of it looks like a single family home. And up on the top, I'm going to be competing with the tractors here, but up on the top, we actually made an attic area. So we have cement poured to make it look like joists that you'd see in an attic area. There's actually an attic scuttle that you can go into. It's got a pitched roof, which means it's kind of an angle, which you'd see on a single family home or a residential home. And we have an area on that roof that we can actually cut holes in the roof from the exterior to vent it, to get all the gas and smoke to come out.
Okay, to simulate that ventilating, then there's also a flat spot for the ventilation practice also.
Yep, correct. We got a flat part and a pitched part.
Okay. And if I remember right, each kind of, the first floor is kind of we have a garage that looks like a garage in there, and then the second floor can be more like a commercial apartment building. 3rd floor, like you mentioned, is the attic space. Any other features that we've added to this compared to our previous building?
Yep, correct. We tried again to replicate a lot of different stairways. So in an apartment building or a commercial building, what firefighters typically do is come in with an apartment bundle of hose on their shoulder, and they'll hook up to a standpipe, which is the pipe in the stairway that we're feeding with our fire truck. So we've got that in the stairway. We can advance hose off the standpipe system. And then also probably one of the worst fires to go to is a basement fire in the old style true basement where you have really no egress out of the basement. And what we're going to do here, it's not totally up yet, but there's going to be a way to simulate that you're going into a basement. It'll actually be the first level of the facility from a safety standpoint. We don't want to put firefighters underground in a training scenario. So you'll go up in a fire escape and enter the building from the first floor, making it look like you're going down into the basement.
Excellent. Well, should we take a walk through and kind of see what it looks like on the inside?
Sure. And one other thing I was just thinking about, Mike, is the training classroom. We should probably mention that. We'll see it as we take a walk, but we added an outdoor training area, so whether it's really hot out or snowing or raining, the firefighters, when they come out of their training scenarios, can go into a covered classroom. It's like an outdoor classroom. It's just a covered roof area, but at least it gets them out of the heat, especially coming out of a fire scenario.
Yep, very good.
And I think one of the last things I'm thinking about before we take our walk too is the old facility you could only train in it in warm weather because of some of the grading issues here, and now with the new facility we raised up the building. We should be able to train all the time around the clock.
Yep. Yeah, we were limited to
that.
we shut down in November and we couldn't start up until April, May roughly before we could start burning again. So this is going to open more opportunity for training up here.
Correct.
Now we came into the inside of the Able building. We're going to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of the construction for this. And I happen to have one of the heat tiles in my hand here, so we can kind of describe what this is all about and why they use this special material.
Sure. So all the rooms are basically the same construction. You're going to see cinder block, which is similar to any kind of commercial building that you'd see in our communities. And then wherever there's cinder block, these burn tiles are going to go. Thermal tiles is what you'd call them. They protect the block, so obviously we're going to be heating 1,000 degrees or higher in these rooms, and you want to protect the block as long as we can. So these tiles actually go over all the blocks, and they'll be on the roof, the walls, and even the floor gets a special treatment of similar type of tile to protect it from the heat. Like we talked about a little bit on the outside, the unique thing about this building compared to our old building is you can burn in any room.
Yep.
The old building only had one room with the tile on it. It was a little bit different tile, and as you recall at the end, the tile was actually coming off.
Yep, after so many uses.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons the room was falling apart on us, literally. But this area, if one of the rooms gets bad, you can actually take the tile off, knock the walls out, because the walls aren't the structural part, it's the poured cement that is the skeleton.
Yep.
And replace the wall. So that's why this building is planned to last at least 25 years.
Correct.
Where the other one was 20 years.
Yep, and you can see behind us a little bit of construction that they're installing the doors, so that's going to make up the different rooms. Where we're standing is kind of the garage area, commercial space makeup.
Yeah, correct. And again, like you already mentioned, we tried to just have different style rooms. They might look all the same to the general public, but every room's just a little bit unique in size, shape, doors, windows, stairways. We have several different types of stairways that you see in a split entry home compared to a two-level home. So,
all right, well, that about wraps it up here at the Able, Mike. One thing I'd like to figure out is just the cost of this and how it's shared between the four Able cities.
Well, again, if you go back to 1987, it was a little over $200,000 for the original Able project, and the four cities divided that up. And then we pay a user fee of $2,500 a year that goes into a fund for up-to-date stuff. Anytime we have something that needs repairs, that comes out of that fund. So for the new project, the four cities all split the cost. It was about $2 million. That's about $500,000 each. And then if any outside cities want to use it, we do have a rental rate that we can rent out the facility to other organizations.
All right, well, we hope to enjoy this new facility and get a lot of training hours out of it for all of our departments, and hope to see you here in the future. And thanks for joining me.
Thanks for asking, Mike.
If you don't use water wisely today, there may not be water to use tomorrow.
Now let's take a look at some recent activity around the fire department. LFD is proud to say that we have become the first fire department in the country to issue a new style helmet to all firefighters in the department. This style of helmet has been popular in Europe for many years and is now available here in the U.S. These helmets have been tested by various people here over at LFD over the past year, and the decision was made to replace all the helmets with this new style version. While it does look different from the traditional helmet that has been used for decades, most firefighters that start using the new helmet like it better than the old version. LFD rookie class recently completed their Firefighter 1 class and have moved on to more advanced training. Much of their training has been in the classroom, but part was a live burn training at Hennepin Technical College, where they got to learn about how fires burn and what they need to know in a variety of situations. The rookies also had to test out a Firefighter 1 class before they could move on to Firefighter 2. But there is still a long ways to go for these probationary firefighters, and they still have about 1.5 years of training left. Have you ever thought about becoming a firefighter? Soon Lakeville Fire Department will be taking applications for people to join the department. There will be informational meetings later this spring with training starting in the fall. For more information on becoming a firefighter, visit the city's website at www.lakevillemn.gov. In late April, LFD teamed up with Lakeville Family Swim School to provide free CPR training. Many people showed up to learn how they could save a life this summer, and many of them got an up-close look at some of the fire trucks and gear here at the department. While we here at the fire department have had a number of calls over the past few weeks, we have been lucky there hasn't been many major events. But fire responders did have to respond to a vehicle fire south of town on 225th Street near Dodd Boulevard. When firefighters arrived, this car was fully engulfed in flames. The fire was mainly taken care of by our rookie firefighters, and it was an opportunity for them to learn about vehicle fires in a real-world situation. The rookies got the fire under control, and no one was injured in the incident. And that is some of the latest activity around the fire department.
Phew! Ah, there everybody, it's me, Scratchy the fire dog, 'cause I like to scratch out the fires. Hey, I was out riding on the truck to a fire, and oh, boy, am I tired and, very thirsty, and I thought, I'd come back to the truck, because it's always filled with water, and get a drink, and here we go. What's the big idea? There's no water coming out of here, and I'm as thirsty as I can be, but hey, I have an idea. Here at the station number 4 is the Firefighter of the Year, Firefighter Paul. If anybody knows about how to get the water going, it's Paul. And hey, there he is over there. Hey, Firefighter Paul! Hey, Firefighter Paul! Hey, how you doing today, man?
Oh, Scratch, doing good. Yourself?
Oh, very good. But I just got back from a fire call, and I'm so thirsty. And the fire truck was all out of water. How am I supposed to get a drink when the fire truck is all out of water, huh?
Well, first of all, Scratch, you're not supposed to drink out of the fire truck. That water's for putting out fires, not for drinking.
I've been doing that for 15 years.
That might explain a couple things.
I think you're right. Well, how do you get the water then in the tank here in the fire truck?
Well, Scratch, that's what I'm doing right now. That's why I have this very large hose here. When the truck is empty, we need to hook up to a fire hydrant and fill it up. If you like, I can show you the pump panel.
Wait a minute. Doesn't the water come down from like the ceiling, or do you hook it up to like the kitchen sink to fill it up?
Oh no, there's a lot of water goes on this truck, so we need this real big hose here to get it on fast.
Oh, awesome. Well, if you're willing to show me, show away, Firefighter Paul.
All right, Scratch, follow me.
All right, here we go. Hey, that's a pretty slick, Firefighter Paul, but how am I supposed to get a drink with that?
And again, you're not going to get a drink out of here, but we're going to take the other end of this hose and we're going to put it on a fire hydrant. When we turn on that fire hydrant, all the water that's in there is going to come up to this point right here. I'm going to pull this valve right here. It says tank fill.
Ah, I wonder if there was a lever that said scratch fill. That's a good one. You didn't like that one, did you? It's kind of lame, wasn't it?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah, I'm with you. But hey, I got the question. What if you are out on a call and you don't have a hydrant? Do you still have enough water in there to put out a fire?
We don't have enough necessarily to put out the fire, but we have enough to get a good start on it. And in the meantime, we're going to have other trucks that are coming, which are also carrying water. And in the city here, we have what we call the tender. and that'll have 2,000 gallons of water on it. And it'll fill up a swimming pool, and we can pull the water out of there.
Wow, I wouldn't be thirsty after drinking 2,000 gallons, I guarantee you that, Firefighter Paul.
Why not? You could probably put out the fire then.
I probably could. I get it. That was a good one. Hey, Firefighter Paul, I got a very important question though to ask you. If you go to a fire, you do hook up to a hydrant, do you still have water in the tank here in the fire truck, or is it empty and you have to come back to the station to fill it up?
Nope, I can fill it up right from the hydrant while we're fighting the fire. Then once it's full, I will close that valve and it'll just stay there full, and we'll run just off of the hydrant water.
Wow, awesome. Well, you guys sound like you're very, very prepared, and I just got one question for you.
Yes.
Where is the drinking fountain in this place?
I'll show you that.
Oh, good.
There you go, Scratch, is where you can get a drink of water.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Firefighter Paul. I am so parched, and I want to say thank you so much for showing me how the fire tanks get refilled on the trucks.
Oh, you're very welcome, Scratch. My pleasure.
Very good. Hey, and being the Firefighter of the Year, you must have won a big prize. Did you get to go to Hawaii or get a new car, or what did you get?
No, Scratch. Unfortunately, I did not get any of those. But I did get a very nice trophy to put on my mantle at home.
Yeah, I heard too that you got 2 complimentary meals to Wendy's.
I'm not quite sure about that.
All right, but we'll work that out with the chief. So
Very
thanks again, Paul, and hey, thanks for everyone out there watching this edition of Firefighting with the Scratch and the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. We'll see you next time. Oh, I forgot to have a drink. Oh, see you next time. Oh, here we go.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of On Call. If you have questions, comments, an idea for the program, or would like to send a question in to Ask the Firefighter, call us at 952-985-4700 or use the email address on your screen. Thanks for joining us, and all fire units are clear.